Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for My Hero Academia Season 6 on Toonami. And I enjoyed this season, but there was a problem with this season, and that is mainly the pacing of the story. Like, I liked everything that was going on with it. However, certain things felt kind of rushed, mainly in the back end when we pretty much are just rushing towards the end. Like, I get understanding that you have an end goal to the story and wanting to get there in a nice, timely kind of manner. However, I kind of rather would have had certain kind of time jumps or skips and maybe certain episodes to flesh out certain kind of things that happened in there. So that way we could get there in a better kind of way, because it just felt like, oh, okay, the first half is dealing with the pretty much the League of Villains and their army and everything, the Paranormal Liberation Front thing. And then we go to pretty much boom, 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 shifting and just kind of rushing towards the end game of finishing up the story. It was very kind of odd. And it's not that I hated anything that was really kind of going on with it. And we did get interesting information on, like, Hawks' life and everything kind of going on with that, and more into Dabi, and who we learn is Endeavor's son Toya. And it's just like, holy fucking shit. It just happens so fast. Also, we get Lemillion coming back into the fray, which was done in pretty much the way that I predicted, and that was handled at least pretty much better. I kind of wanted a little bit more to have Eri kind of in the front and actually doing more kind of stuff with it. But I did like the reveal of him coming in and kind of helping out and being back in the field. I'm like, yeah, cool. So let's go into the first part. That kind of worked out the best, in my opinion, and then it's the rushed nature. Not necessarily the things that happened in it in the second half that I kind of have a problem with. And it's not that big of a problem. I still enjoyed and loved seeing the kind of character development, the action scenes, and the plot and story developments that we were getting. It's just like, goddamn, you guys can take your time here, man. Like, I mean, granted, we're into the 6th season, so I understand people want to, like, get shit done, but it's like, hold up, man. We're building up to the fucking denouement, the climax here, man. This is gonna be the big-ass battle shit. We need to get to the ebbs and flows and understand what's kind of going on, especially in Midoriya's mind and everything. So, Hawks pretty much utilizes his information, and the heroes decide to go after the villains and try and stop them from whatever plan they're trying to enact. This creates them doing a two-pronged offensive attack, one going for the mountain villa where the villains are supposedly centered, and one going for Garaki at this hospital to go after him. And they're trying to figure out where's Tomura Shigaraki and what they can kind of do with that. So we see that Deku and Bakugo and most of, like, Uraka, Ida, those kind of ones are going at the hospital one. They're not at the hospital themselves. Endeavor and Mirako and other kind of pro heroes are going after Garaki, and the students are kind of handling the evacuation and everything. We then see the villain one, where we get some, like, midnight Mount Late. What the fuck am I going on? Let me see here. Mount Lady, I think. I'm totally blanking on this. I don't know why. What the hell was that? Yeah. Sorry, I don't know why I was going blank on that. But those kind of heroes, and then we've got Yayorozu, Kaminari, other kind of ones of Class A and Class B kind of being the support ones. And their plans execute pretty well at first. We've got Redestro had pretty much been thought to be brought in, but twice was utilizing his doubles. So we see that Hawks pretty much utilizes his tactical abilities and decides to go after twice, tries to bring him in, but instead kills him. Dabi, of course, calls him a hypocrite, being pretty much a giant dickhole that he is. I mean, granted, he went through a lot of shit with Endeavor. We learned throughout later that Endeavor didn't communicate his stuff effectively with the kid. Now, granted, that is a gigantic problem on Endeavor. That's not me, like, trying to be like, oh, he was, like, he wasn't, like, beating Toya and berating him and trying to be an abusive father to him. Now, granted, he didn't talk to him thoroughly enough to be like, hey, you've got really hot flames, but your body cannot handle it, so you can't be a hero in the way that you kind of envision, or how I kind of envision. Because Endeavor doesn't know how to communicate jack fucking shit a lot. He's an asshole and a dickhole, and he needs to fucking balance himself out. That's what we get after we get that kind of reveal. But it's like, you could be a hero in other ways. It's like, I can do all these heat things. It's like, they thought he fucking burnt himself to fucking death. It's like, god damn. And it's like, you abandoned me and everything like that. It's like, everybody thought you were dead. Now, granted, depending upon the heat, you try and look for a body, but they never found a body. Granted, there's doing a lot of different kind of things here in this season, so I understand that certain plot holes and inconsistencies will pop up. That's why I kind of do these a little bit off the cuff. I kind of have an idea of where I kind of go, but then sometimes I think of something, I'm like, did they actually fucking look for his body? How did they kind of like do that with the police report or anything? Did they just say he fucking burnt himself to death and just kind of left it as that? I don't know. But of course, there's a lot of different other kind of stuff going on. We get that kind of stuff as he pretty much blasts that over the internet during the battle and tries to pretty much kill and go after Endeavor, while Todoroki's like, listen, we gotta deal with this. I thought my brother was dead, but let's fucking do this, as everything's kind of going to shit. Hawks gets kind of fucked up, but Tokiyami, yes. And Dark Shadow pop up and kind of save him, get him back. The heroes in the villa pretty much have a better kind of handle of what's kind of going on. However, at the hospital, they pretty much go after Garaki. There's kind of a double, but then they are able to kind of try and go after him again, and Mirako pretty much blasts her way through, and we start seeing like highly advanced Nomu pretty much presenting with multiple quirks and everything, and acting with a kind of greater degree of intelligence than we have been used to. And this really showcased Mirako as a fucking good character. Now, when I say good character, she's interesting. Not that she's necessarily good. She's kind of battle, like, she'll go out on her own terms, pretty much with her boots on and shit, but, so she's a little bit more like, I'll fucking, like, die, motherfucker, but I'll take your ass with me. She's a really cool one, and I like the dub that they got for her. I mean, shit, they had, like, a fucking Bugs Bunny reference. It was like, what's up, Doc? It was perfectly executed. You know how sometimes when people are like, let's do a Bugs Bunny quote, and they're not able to execute it well? That's not here for me, man. They executed that well. I'm like, goddamn, she gonna whoop some fucking ass, and she fucking does. But her arm gets fucked up. She fucking almost loses a leg. We do see throughout her actions and her character, she is going to accomplish the mission, as she pretty much tries to stop Shigaraki from being better equipped to be like a vessel body thing for All for One. And I think that's kind of his thing. We kind of get that going on, but then he's technically in two places at once, and we'll kind of see other stuff going on with Deku's. Fuck, One for All one as well. I do have some theories on what could potentially go on with that kind of thing. So, things are going to shit. We think Shigaraki's pretty much down, but of course he wakes up, fucking dusts this one dude, and his decay powers are able to pretty much level the city, the hospital, a lot of things. Heroes barely get out of there. It's like, motherfucker! And then we see that he pretty much tries to go for Midoriya, and Midoriya is like, fucking hell, he's coming for my ass. The fucking first user's like, dude, the fucker's up! Get the fuck out! Now, granted, he says it in a little bit of a better kind of way, but it's just like, hey, dude, fucking badass danger's coming to tap your ass! Book it, because other people are going to be in danger. It's like, alright, cool. And of course, Bakugo's like, fuck that shit. And then Gran Torino kind of gets into effect, and we see that Shigaraki's trying to pretty much take him out. And he's utilizing all these different kind of quirks as well. But Eraserhead's able to get into the field and pretty much get him trapped, but he's still able to utilize what they've done with his body. He woke up too early, and he's still not on the kind of good effect, but he's healing and everything. Deku's trying his best. He's utilizing One for All at like pretty much 100% and pretty much blasting his arms pretty much. And then we see that Shigaraki pretty much tries to take out Eraserhead, Aizawa, with one of the quirk deleting kind of bullets that he was able to keep. But Eraserhead fucking even chopped his own leg off and was like, fuck you, asshole. I'm gonna fucking take your ass out. But then he, like, fucking gets to a point where he, like, grabs at Eraserhead and fucking takes one of his. I don't know if he takes one of his eyes or at least severely damages it. But Midori is trying to get at him and stop him and everything. He almost gets, like, his arms are fucking mangled. He's trying to utilize his float quirk and everything and Black Whip as much as possible. He almost gets the power taken from him as Shigaraki's trying to utilize All For One, and well, All For One is trying to utilize him. But the rest of the users are able to kind of back him off, and Shigaraki, of course, isn't in the mindset to really have that thing be utilized, but Bakugo tried to help him out, and of course, Todoroki and everything. This kind of lines up with the villa, where they pretty much get the giant-ass Gigantomachia. Hold on. Gigantomachia. Yeah, Gigantomachia. He blasts out. 1A and B try to stop him, and Yaya Rose is able to kind of make a kind of sedative kind of thing. Only one thing gets in him, but it's enough that later on in the battle he fucking power naps. Thank God. Midnight pretty much gets fucked up, and no, she gets killed. Straight up fucking killed. Like, she gets fucked up at one point, but then she dies. It's like, God damn, fuck. And we see the students mourning and everything. We see a lot of pro heroes are, like, injured and killed. Gigantomachia fucking, like, runs through all these different places, showcasing that the heroes can't stop this thing at the moment. And pretty much working within the villain's goals of pretty much starting to destroy what's going on. And, of course, All For One wants to be, like, Demon Lord Dick Cheese. And it's like, fuck you, asshole. But then we see that he gets there. Shigaraki pretty much gets to a point where he gets kind of out, but they kind of get him back. We get compressed kind of his backstory and everything. And then Gigantomachia pretty much gets taken out. Lemillion and Best Genius pop up and everything and start turning the tide of the battle. Well, that's a little bit before Gigantomachia takes his power nap. And then Shigaraki gets taken over by All For One and is like, hey, no moves, get my fucking ass out of here. We're gonna pretty much let this boy cook, so that way I can do some shit and shit. And Midoriya's fucked up, everybody's gonna get fucked up, it's like, god damn. So the heroes are pretty much like recuperating and everyone's like, fuck this shit. And the certain heroes haven't had to deal with this kind of thing before. Like, the public opinion is vastly negative towards them because of their inability to stop this and to effectively stop the villains, because also after this fact, Shigaraki utilizes his powers and also being controlled by All For One to break All For One's main body out of Tartarus, as well as all these other villains and all these other villains from Tartarus, but also like thousands of other ones. So everything's going to pretty much shit, and everyone's like, fuck these heroes, and some of them apologize and quit, and some of them were like, I'm sorry, but we're going to keep doing this on as the hero pool keeps shrinking and shrinking. We see everybody kind of pretty much at the hospital. Endeavor's pretty much trying to rack his brain around that his son's not dead and trying to figure out what to do to fix it. The Todoroki family pretty much comes together and be like, we're going to fix this and everything. Hawk and Best Genius pretty much coming up with their plans as well. They're like, we got to figure out what the fuck One For All is and what's kind of going on with this. And of course, Midori has pretty much been asleep. Bakugo wakes up and like, what the fuck's going on with him? And we see that he is pretty much conversing with the other users. And we pretty much get everybody on the same page because we're gearing up to the final battle. Shimura pretty much asks if Deku could kill Shigaraki, and he's like, I want to try and save him. I want to try and help him. And that's good that he kind of passes that test. Even though Gran Torino at another point is like, sometimes in order to save somebody, you got to kill somebody. And there is that kind of line, and we see that Deku kind of goes on kind of a darker path, but we learn a lot of stuff about One For All, and how the various kind of users used it, interacted. Some had their life shortened, and it's like, I just fucking died. And we learned that if you have a quirk and you use this power, it shortens your lifespan considerably. It explains why All Might was able to use it for 4 years, because he didn't have a quirk, so it didn't overflow vessel-wise. Which brought me into the effect of, okay, if that's how that works, what if you essentially just keep building up this quirk thing to essentially become a quirk bomb, where I mean, granted, the best idea would be for Midoriya to hone his abilities and everything to the maximum potential that they can be, and then just have All For One take it. I mean, you could essentially, like, you're like, I can't handle this, and fucking poosh! And he dies. That could potentially be how that works out. Now, granted, that's just me theorizing at this point. From what I was seeing, and what kind of goes on, but I don't know what's going on in the manga at the moment. I know I'm like behind and everything. I'll get there eventually because I like watching and reading it, so we'll kind of see at some point. But he decides to work together with Hawks, Best Genius, Endeavor, and All Might, and he is the one that All For One is gunning for, so he decides to leave UA. He leaves a letter for all of his classmates, and then decides to kind of go and essentially be a vigilante and going around and trying to train up his powers as much as possible. They try and get some intel. They look into All For One, and he pretty much like, yeah, I got you pretty much. You're going to be the one that I'm gunning for, and blows up this place, and it's really starting to piss Midoriya off. It puts him into a place of like, we see him as it also changes his voice as he's just more quiet even than usual, and just focused on his mission to his own detriment, as he's not sleeping and not eating as he should, as All Might is trying to take care of him, but he just can't, as he's like going away and actually physically leaving him at certain points, as he says, it's alright, All Might, I got this. And we see him taking on villains and everything, utilizing his new powers, as he's now pretty much in agreement with all the users and learning new kind of things with like the smoke screen, the ability to store up pretty much kinetic energy for different kind of things as well, that we see utilized. And it's like, ooh, cool. But the thing is, I don't need a complete training montage for all of these kind of things. They kind of just have to pop out now because the pacing is vastly accelerated. We see here a sentiment turn. We see the students dealing with it lightly, because we don't focus on them until we get later, where Midoriya is pretty much at his lowest. He's trying to figure out stuff. He has his fight with Lady Nagant, which was actually really kind of cool because she was in the same kind of boat as Hawks, who was utilized pretty much to take out problematic heroes and to take out those that they saw as a threat to their hero society, and using them as assassins, because Hawks was the son of pretty much a criminal, and his hero was Endeavor, and Endeavor finally caught his father, and his mother kind of lost it, and she pretty much signed her son away to the services, the Public Safety Commission. I think it's the Public Safety Commission. And that's how he kind of got into his thing. And we see him trying to do better. His mom left pretty much to go into my more protective kind of services. And we see all the heroes kind of interacting, but we see that Midoriya is pretty much running around trying to do what he can do, helping as where as he can. And the thing is, I kind of wanted them to delve more deeply into this shakeup of the public not trusting heroes, kind of taking on their own vigilante kind of approach, utilizing support weapons and everything that actually were pretty much given out by Redestro and everything, pretty much showing this kind of lawless, kind of crazy, chaotic kind of place, until we start seeing other heroes popping into effect, helping out and all that. We see Midoriya still doing his good deeds. We see him helping this citizen who has more of an animalistic kind of quirk, and people are calling her horrible names and saying she can't go to these shelters and everything, but he helps her and makes her feel good. And she becomes important later on. And we see that he just starts running down because we see that Lady Nagant and other people have been sent to capture Midoriya and take him there 2 months. But during that battle with Nagant, Lady Nagant, she's also got Overhaul, and Overhaul wants to, of course, talk to the old man and apologize to him. But we see that battle, which was really great. The battle scenes and the use of quirks are very good in this season. Like, it definitely informs character actions, character developments, how they utilize these quirks and how they affect the world and the other people around them. We see Deku pretty much really getting into an effect and utilizing his quirks as effectively as possible, and going through this crucible really helps him out. However, it isn't helping him out enough because he's still missing the kind of crucial aspect of his friends and everything that to help him through this. That the hero needs people to help him as well. And that's the hardest kind of thing to get to understand, because we see All Might dealing with this as well, especially towards the last episode. So we see that like Lady Nagant was also given another quirk by All for One to kind of help her out in her mission, and she's pretty deadly on herself, but she was fucking done with the corruption of the Hero Society, and she was pretty much like it was just blamed that she had like killed a hero or whatnot, and it actually wasn't exactly the entire truth. But Deku's able to kind of get her to effect, and she's pretty much going to tell the stuff that she knows. But All for One booby trap the quirk, and she pretty much explodes, but they kind of save her, and Hawks helps out as well. And we see that Midoriya keeps going on. He gets even more angry at All for One, and he tries to go after this one dude, but this one dude's got the power to pretty much utilize other people as puppets, and is going after to stop Midoriya. But the thing is, Class 1A comes, and then we see a little bit of backstory that the class wants to bring Midoriya back and say that it's safe for him and to actually help him out because he needs help. And this was really effective. This really got me because it sucked because Midoriya is trying to protect the people that he loves, but in order to best protect the people that he loves, he has to work with them and understand that yes, they might be in harm's way, but they are going to be in that harm's way regardless. All for One knows that he loves his classmates, and that any kind of attack on them will be an attack on him. But Midoriya's not thinking that way. He's thinking, he needs me, he wants me. Yeah, of course you're isolated now. Now you're easier kind of prey. And the thing is, with the others, they can help him out. And it's a great battle of wills, seeing Midoriya try and stick to this course, but then just be so tired out by the actions that he's taken, and the rest effectively arguing the case at him that he needs to come back. He needs to work with others and to help, because saying that only one person can kind of save this hero society is the fallacy. We all save it together when we work together. And that is a nice kind of thematic thing that they're able to get across very well, as we even then see them taking them back to UA, as they've made vast upgrades and everything to defensive kind of measures, and the group inside are like, no, they're after him, he's got multiple quirks, he's a Nomu and everything like that, and then Urarok is able to pretty much put him in their place and understand and explain, because I like that they showed the memory of her cheering on this one hero that was pretty much injured after fighting, and that he kind of got perked up as she's cheering them on. And it's like, who saves the heroes? We do. After they, like, when they need saving. And that's a great question to ask. And she wants them to help Midoriya. And we still see some people, they don't just flip on a dime. We see Kota? Or Kota? Kota. And the woman that he'd saved before coming to him and telling him that it's okay and that they'll help him and that they want him there and everything, and they thank him. And he's like, that's just what I do. And seeing him kind of break down and finally have the weight of everything kind of just come down, and just sometimes you do need to kind of break and hit that kind of point to kind of deal with shit. And seeing Midoriya go through that was powerful, and I liked it, like how they got, like how it was done here. I just wish that we'd had a little bit more time and a little bit more episodes to kind of tease that out better. Like, I think that this second half of this season should have been its own full season to ebb and flow to this, to eventually get to this kind of crescendo. And this is an interesting one for me to get to that point of being like, you know what? We kind of needed 2 seasons for this to really kind of get to that end goal. So they are able to get the rest of them, and they're like, okay, cool. And we then see Midoriya get washed and everything by the guys and everything, and them just trying to like get him reacclimated and all that. We see original Deku pretty much perking up and getting back. He still has learned and is going through what he has gone through, but he's getting back to himself. And that's really nice to kind of see. and everything kind of working out better on that kind of front. Let's see here. And of course, he had said that he would bring the world back to the way that it was and everything. Let's see. And then the last episode kind of deals with All Might trying to figure out how, pretty much what to do. He pretty much gets in contact with Stain, and Stain is like, "You're not All Might," and he shows the muscular form, and he talks about his doubts and everything, and that he isn't sure that what he's done with his life is right, because look at what's happened since he's stopped being the #1 hero and everything. Not just, it's not a thing where he's like, "I wish I was stronger for my sake." Which I'm glad they don't do. He's like, look at what's happened. All these people are hurt and everything, and I can't even train my protege well. He took after the same kind of mistakes that I did, and that he thinks he's a failure. And then Stain shows him, no, look, the woman that you saved in your last battle comes out here and cleans the graffiti off of your statue. The good thing about All Might and what he had done as a hero was inspire the flames of hope and heroism in others. You can see it in Midoriya, you can see it in Class 1A, all those heroes. And Stain understands that. And he has information, and he gives him the information, and says that he'll see him later to take him out, because he still believes himself to be a monster. And we learn that we thought we had like 2 months for Shigaraki to pretty much get back into his business, but they've only got like 3 days or whatnot. It was like 38 days or whatnot. It's like, god damn. But that was a powerful kind of thing to see All Might go through with that. And we do see that Deku does apologize to All Might for how he was acting, and it's funny because he got through all this, he was sitting at the UA dorms, he's like, I can't sleep until I apologize to him. And he does get back, and he's like, yeah, it's okay, man. They both apologize to each other, he apologizes to the students and everything, and it all works out, at least at that point. And then we're like, ah, shit, we got the final battle coming up, and that's kind of where it ends off, setting up the cliffhanger of the next season, that they're going to have to deal with Shigaraki being done in like 3 days. Now, I don't consider it really a cliffhanger. We've gotten to the point where it's like, oh god, we got it to a nice stopping point. We then also see that other world leaders are like, we got to deal with this shit, but how do we deal with this effectively? It's like, if we send our heroes, the other criminal organizations will come at us. But we find out that one of the and it's like, it's understandable, but the thing is, you really should help out Japan, because if one place gets destabilized to the point where the villains take control, that is then a base for the other ones to then just start going after other different kind of countries. I'm not saying you commit all your forces, but I mean, a joint global response to this is needed and warranted. And we learned that the United States won their #1 hero, Star and Stripe, is heading to Japan with like fighter jets and everything to help her master All Might with All For One. It's like, all right, cool, and that's the thing that All Might inspires. So it'll be interesting to see her utilization in the fray, how she interacts with other heroes, how heroes in Japan interact with other heroes from other nations, and how that works out. Because at this point, we've only seen how heroes work and interact with in Japan. Now, granted, I have not seen World Hero Mission yet, so granted, I'll have to watch it at some point and review that and see if there's anything like that at that point. But within the anime that I know of, unless there's something I'm forgetting, and if I am, please, I'm always glad to learn that. I was like, oh, okay, cool. But we've seen the main example of how Hero Society exists in Japan. It would be really kind of interesting to see how it exists in other parts of the world as well. So a really kind of cool thing is if we would see that at some point, like the main story ends, but yet you could still explore the world of My Hero Academia through other countries as well. So I enjoyed this anime season. It just felt kind of rushed in the second kind of half. And there's a lot of stuff that I wanted them to dig into, like the collapse of the Hero Society, the villains kind of running rampant, and all the villains everywhere. And then we see Deku kind of like pretty much arresting these villains and everything, and how that kind of works out. It just felt a little bit rushed to me. Otherwise, I really enjoyed this. I liked the first half of seeing how that kind of operation worked out, but then we just kind of went from 0 to 100 real quick. It's like, god damn, we're already getting to pretty much the final battle in the next season or whatnot. So we'll have to see how that works out. I've been enjoying this so far, and I can't wait to see kind of where the story ends, where Midoriya and his classmates end up, and how that kind of works and shakes out. So those are my opinions on the anime season. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.